That's required under the pension.
Oh, that's funny, okay.
Okay, the final budget transfers as of May 31st to 17,
For year-end closing?
and then a hire of seasonal laborer.
Who's the seasonal worker for
Yeah, we had one person leave, so we're just replacing that person.
In what department, DPW?
DPW, yeah.
All right, then we have new business, Hanson Aggregates, a water request.
Yeah,
Where to-
Hanson sent us a letter, it's enclosed here, asking for connection to the village water. They have to go through the town of Dunkirk, I've notified them of that fact, because they want to hook in with Plaza 59, which is a water district for the town of Dunkirk,
Okay.
and we supply the water there. Are you from the press?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I have a... Okay. If you pick that up, I'll give you this. Here you go. Thank you.
Okay, so,
So I notified them that they have to go through the town, that has to be part of the town district.
Okay.
You can't hook in an individual like that, so that's what they said they did that, and the town directed them to the village, and I said, no, they have to go to the town, and the town comes to us and requests that they have this person, kind of like what the town of Pomfret did. There's a request from,
Right,
on Route 60.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, are they going to be using our water?
Well, the town wants them to.
Right.
If the town says, like the town of Pomfret, if you read the town of Pomfret letter, this is the way to do it. They go to the
Yeah.
town, the town says it's okay with us, we have to notify the village and get the village approval. The village gives approval, and then from there, they join the district, and then we start selling them water.
oh, I see, they'll join the district, it's just that they have to go through the town to make a request.
Right, because we have no way to, if they don't pay their water bill, we have no way to re-levy against them.
Okay.
Okay, the town does. The town can reassess against their taxes
Okay.
and get their money. And that's the
Notify them
reason,
of that.
that's the reason why you don't go individual.
Then you, so you notified them of that?
Yeah, I notified them. I just wanted to bring you up to date. That was a correspondence that we received, and I wanted to let you know that we'll probably be receiving the same thing we did from the town of Pomfret.
Okay.
Okay, and then we go to the Town of Pomfret water request for 10398 on Route 60. And that's the letter we have.
I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that. I think that's the empty building where right across from Walmart. Yeah,
Place.
I think Top's
Top
owned it.
along, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's it. I'm not
Yeah, it is.
100% positive, but I think that's it.
Something going in there?
It won't be,
A business or
apparently.
something,
Yeah,
hopefully.
apparently. Probably won't be using a lot of water, but, you know, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that.
Right.
We would have a resolution for the next meeting to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Is Tad not coming?
Okay, and then we go to,
Is
what's
Tad coming?
I don't know.
Tad?
Todd is not coming today.
Okay.
So, we said to discuss the trustee appointment procedure. The reason is to give a little bit of back story. When a position of a trustee opens the way it opened last time by resignation of somebody who wasn't able to finish, for whatever reason, to finish his elected term, according to our charter, the Board of Trustees are responsible to fill that position. Last time, the way we did it was, I held some interviews. Then, it was about 5 people, if I remember correctly. I discussed with each and every one of the trustees, each and every one of the applicants, and then we had a meeting when they decided where they wanted to go with, who they wanted to go with. That keeps with the charter and keeps with the state as well. And And we started something like that a few months ago, a couple of months ago. And then we had a request from one of the trustees, at least, Mr. Essex, that he wanted to be part of the interviews. That to me opens quite a few questions. First of all, this trustee is going to be an equal to our trustees, which means they have to interview somebody who's going to be their equal. And that's fine if they feel okay, but I thought my personal preference would be all of the trustees to be there so they have all of the information. Anyways, we went back and forth. I discussed it with our attorney, and I have to offer a few solutions to our problem, let's say. First of all, and the only thing is, all of this has to be in open meetings. There's not executive because we're not actually hiring somebody who is going to be an employee. So everything has to be in an open meeting. So first possibility, all of the trustees, open meeting like this one, all of the applicants, either one after the other or several meetings or whatever it takes. I believe we have about 8 applicants by now. So they're all interviewed, and then we hold a discussion. Even the discussion has to be open, and a vote. My personal opinion is that this is something of a debate, and with the election coming up, I just don't feel comfortable providing a debate stage for candidates. Number 2 is something they did for some time. 2 trustees, along with me, and maybe the administrator, do the interviews, and then come to the rest of them to offer their preference. Well, this would mean automatically that these 2 trustees with the mayor, they constitute a majority, so they hire the trustee. We have 3 out of 5, and maybe the other 2 will go with the same, but it doesn't really matter. Another option is, and that was offered, to ask all of the applicants the same 2 questions to be answered in writing. Then we have to hold the same discussion again in an open meeting and the vote. Another option that was offered is that since we are so close to the election, we don't do anything, we don't fill the position. The day after the election, we appoint the person who actually won the election, who won the seat. And from that day on, then in January 1st, that person is being, the elected person is being sworn in and all that. And I have to say that talking with Mr. Padmore over the weekend, he told me something that Trustee Jones actually offered, that years ago when he was a trustee, when something like that happened, they didn't have any interviews, they didn't have any applicants. They just went to the last election and they went to the person, the highest vote getter from the last election. If that person said no, they went to the next one. And they thought that was easy, no drama, no questions, no anything like that. This is what I have to offer. So now I want to open the discussion, and please, each one of you, please tell me what do you think. So, Trustee Christina.
I think the last 2 suggestions make sense to me. Either just wait until the election because we are so close, and then after the election appoint the person, the highest vote getter, to fill out the seat until January, or go to the highest vote getter from the last election. I know that just sort of makes, it sort of takes a lot of the
Drama.
Yeah, I guess out of it.
Okay.
Kind of makes sense.
Thank you. Trustee Lincoln.
Yeah, actually, I feel the same. I do like the idea that at this point in time, allowing the people, they're going to be, there's so few meetings between now and November. Let the people decide, and I'd be happy to, agree with the people and let them We put that person in till the end of the year, and then they would be sworn in for their full term. Or for that position, it's a 2-year.
That's 2-year
Well,
position, that's
To
correct.
finish that term, I guess it would be.
That's 2-year
So, to me, that seems to make a lot of sense at this point in time. Because we had gone to the November elections as opposed to the spring elections. So it really has brought this, matter close as far as the timescale goes.
Thank you. Trustee Jones?
I just have a question, and Rick could probably answer it. Do we have any big thing right now that we have, well, a vote that comes up that between now and before the elections come up where it may hinder us, where we have to have a supermajority vote?
Well, you're going to have bonds coming up because
Okay.
we're doing, specific projects. And so like tonight, I
Yeah.
need a supermajority, which means everybody has to vote positive in order to
Okay.
allow that bond to pass. If one person votes no, the bond goes down and we don't purchase the equipment. So that's always a
Concern.
concern. But
That's a
other
good
than that,
concern.
it's hard to.
That's a good concern.
Yeah.
That's very
I mean,
good.
I think that's a very honest concern.
Yes,
that
that's-
we-
that's-
Because
you're
we still
absolutely
have
right.
to maintain. I agree. I like the idea if we can do the 1, 2, if we don't have a lot of the bond issues that we really have to do, we could leave it open until such time as the election and go that route, take the third highest one and then plug them in to wait. If not, I know we would be able to get onto the 2 candidates. So if after the last election, if that candidate didn't opt not to do it, there was still a third. So we do have a candidate available that we could reach that way, if that's the one we did, if that's the route we do. So we do have, and I think either one of those 2 would be very viable candidates to fill until the end of the year. So I think we have some movability, and if we don't have a lot of bonds coming up, or I think if we do, we need to really look at them and decide what direction we all want to go to so that we don't get here and then have a 3-2 or 2-2.
No, of course, yeah.
So that's right.
Trustee Isaac? Thank you, John. Mr. Jones.
That's an option that I'm glad that the other trustees are thinking about that. As far as meetings, it's not only until November. We have 8 more regular meetings until January that this person will be involved with, and 4 more workshops. So it is imperative, I believe, that we have a 5th trustee, and it's just a determination of the process. I don't know who the 3rd highest vote getter was in the last election. I don't know if that's going to create any conflict of, if it doesn't create any conflict, if the rest of the board is okay with that, I'm okay with that too, but I really feel we should fill that position.
How? I mean,
With
this is how we
the
get
third
that.
vote, third
Yeah.
highest vote getter from the last, I would be okay with that.
And I think we have to be careful if you say, well, if there's no conflict with that person. The bottom line is, though, if he was that highest vote getter, he or she really would be the one to be able to have that position offered to him.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say that 3rd highest vote getter does not want to be appointed in
Yeah,
this
I don't
position
know.
here.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
also-
Yeah, that's an
That's a
issue.
possibility.
Then I would go back to the situation where I would ask that all the trustees be involved in that process and it be an open meeting, if that be the case. So that would be my second option. If that first option does not come to fruition, that would be my second option, my thought.
And I think we should have something in place, because maybe, as you said, I think Katie Greeley was the next person. I'm not sure if she wants to come to fill the position for the 2 months. And if she doesn't, then we go where? To
But
Jim
it'd actually
Sedota?
be
Then
not
it
for just
was-
2
it
months,
was
though,
Sedota.
till
To Jim
January.
Sedota, okay. As I said, these are options, but we really have to decide somehow, because this is a conundrum that we shouldn't be in.
Right.
We have the position empty for 2 months now, and. haven't
And the other
decided
thing
how.
is that this is the third time in 2 years that we've
I know.
had this issue. So we really need to set sort of some precedent for going forward.
Yes. And
So that it's not drawn out and we can continue
Every
to
time.
move forward with the business of the village. I think we need to really have a procedure in place that
That is going
everybody
to be-
feels is going to work well.
Yeah, that's going to be quick and it's going to be
Right.
efficient.
Yep.
So that's why the discussion is not only for this time, of course it's for this time as well, but overall, because the charter is so vague, there needs to be a process and not to go back and forth every time.
So at this point, then, if that person that's third in line does not want to do this, the other trustees, what's your second option? Mine would be go for the 4 trustees being involved in the process, and it be an open meeting. I don't, could we ask how the rest of the trustees feel about that for a second option? I don't,
Oh, I thought the second option was to then offer to the next person, to the other
Go to
person.
the fourth-
Okay.
Fourth person.
Okay.
and then,
if those persons that were in the last election choose not to be in.
Either of them.
Either
Right,
of them.
okay.
Any of them.
Either of them. I mean, we're not going to go down
No.
25, yeah.
But, like you say, this position's been open for 2 months.
Then
If
I
those
would
2
wait.
people do not accept that position, then we have to move forward. I think we should be able to appoint somebody by the next meeting.
I would be in favor of waiting till the election.
I like
That's
that
my
idea,
thought.
because the people that ran last time, some people voted for them, and that's where they ended up in the race. But in this case, where Kara's stating, I think that, I like that too, because, once again, the people are gonna vote for that person. They would be, just because somebody, by default, it goes to the next election, and then it would then be in place.
And then we appoint that person right after the election, so we don't have to go all the way till January with only the 4 of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because I agree. My biggest concern, as I said with Rick, that's why I asked the question I asked.
Right,
We're in a
right.
position where we're going to get backed in
Right.
with our bonds.
I understand.
The other thing I would say, and it's just from the experience I had on a civil service level, is that I like the idea if we just have 2 questions and everybody gets asked the exact same questions the same way, because you can't ask something of one person
Right.
and not the other.
Correct.
That's not a fair way to go with
And
it.
there are a few things that to take under consideration. First of all, maybe some of the trustees won't like, or the applicants won't like the fact that they're going to be there and we're going to be here asking them questions. Because, I mean, as I said, this is not a job interview. So we have to be very careful and also not to set the stage for a debate.
I agree. But either way you do it, if you're going to interview for the position, you still have to ask them questions. I think if you have 2 very basic, let's just say for an example, share with us why you want to fill this position. That's, you get a feel of where they're coming from. And it's not for us to debate with it. You ask the question, you hear what they have to say. In regards to, concern if we did it 2 in 1 and you would concern, you can split it up. There's 4 of us. Have at one time you 2 interview, or so you always just have 2, or you're back to having it as an open meeting. And I don't have a problem with the open meeting, but some candidates might.
Right.
But they also have to.
And I don't blame them.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
thoroughly
you know,
understand
yeah.
that too.
I think it also takes out the party thing out of it. If we let the people vote instead of each of us, I mean, that takes that out of, so we're not really worried about parties. Because, I mean, whether they answer the question one way or another, I don't know how people feel about
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
And also these questions, I mean, for a trustee, at least the way I see them, they're not questions about issues.
Right.
Because first of all, you don't expect them to know
No.
everything about issues. That's not fair. And second, by asking them about issues, then you're definitely having a debate.
Right.
In the same way, like my preferred question would be, how are you going to make your decisions? And how well you work with other people. End of story. Their personal beliefs are their personal beliefs. So I don't want them to come here and tell me what are their personal beliefs, especially in an open meeting. But again, so we agreed the first one is to go to the next vote, highest vote getter, and then to the other one.
And if both do, then our options are
I'm
wait to,
Would the other trustees, like, be, instead of an open meeting, Phyllis and Jim could be on one day, and myself and Kara could be on
But then
another day?
that's, again, you don't see all the applicants.
Right,
And if I vote with either of you,
right.
that's the majority.
And
Practically, the two trustees who are going to, the one set of two trustees are going to hire this person, not hire, appoint this person. I really want to avoid the appearance of impropriety. I'm not saying there is any impropriety, because I know there isn't. But when you start in a way of doing things, you put down a specific way of doing things, you don't talk only about yourself. We are very, we're not going to hold these positions forever. Other people are coming. We're setting a precedent for them. So,
that's why I like having the people who have the say on, because we're elected officials, not appointed department heads. And by allowing the last vote getters, the highest vote getters to have the next opportunity, and then if they choose not to, have the people have once again, their vote in November. I mean, I do understand the concerns of sitting on that.
that's a very
but,
good concern.
I mean, what are the odds of those of a bond issue failing between now and then? The shorter distance
Who
in time,
knows?
I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a possibility,
It's a
but,
con- well, maybe what we should do at this point, I think that the consensus was, or you could take a vote, if we want to go back to the past one, see if Creeley and Jim
Jim's
are
the-
interested, and I think if maybe now, if you talk with them and we discuss it and it's really now, we're only down to 3 months. Maybe they may be more open to the idea, it's that,
So
and
do-
then we have the election, and then that's the person who gets
So do
appointed.
you want me to call them?
See how that goes. It may be the option, and then it's taking care of itself.
So do you want me to call them?
I mean, and then how quickly could they be then put in place?
2 weeks, our next meeting is.
Next
meeting.
the
Next
next meeting
meeting.
in 2
Right.
weeks.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'd like to have it done as fast as possible.
If
at
this is the
point.
route we do, at least let both of those candidates make a decision if they want it or not just speculate, and then
Right.
they may change their mind.
Right.
I'm good
And
with
then,
that.
and let them know we do have something in plan for November,
Do
and
we
that's
vote on this,
what will
or
happen, so they will,
what do we
they
have to
will
do?
be able to get out at that time if that's what they want to do.
Do we have to have?
Do we need to vote or no?
How do we
or-
do this?
Yes,
Okay.
with concerns, but yes.
It seems that 4-0, right? That
Yeah,
we-
okay.
yeah. Thank you. Okay, we go on to the next one, the trust receptacles.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of put 4 and 5 together, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
I just, I was working at the information booth a couple times this summer, and, was talking with some people, and then about concerns about the way the village looks, and I think things are better, and I think people in general think things are better, but if we are looking at getting more development and people coming in and businesses coming in, and I think we need to take a look at some of the things that make the village look not nice. I sent you all pictures today of the west parking lot, and I think there are 5 areas back there, just in that one parking lot, where there's open dumpsters and trash cans. And So this is just something that I want us to kind of think about. Municipalities that are growing and have economic development and businesses and things have enclosures. It's required that so this would have to be like a zoning issue, I would imagine, where the dumpsters have to be enclosed. And I looked at some information about some other municipalities who have these kinds of codes. And both Orchard Park and Hamburg and East Aurora have businesses in their parking lots. And our parking lots need a lot of work, and right now we obviously don't have the money to do all of the things that need to be done to bring those two parking lots to be nicer. But I think one thing that we could do if we want to expand businesses back there is take a look at cleaning it up. I was there today taking pictures, and it's not just, you've got open dumpsters, you've got trash, there's broken glass all over the place, which is dangerous. And then I think we have a real problem with cigarette butts all over town. I know some business people have discussed concerns with me about the cigarette butts all over the place. And I know that there was a village resident who took it upon herself to get buckets of sand and place them at different businesses downtown, because when they walk and run, and ride bikes, and we've got kids on skateboards, and we've got children in strollers, there are cigarette butts everywhere. So if there's something that we could maybe, encourage people to, not throw your cigarette butts or have them in a specific place so they're not all over the place. I just think in general if we want to encourage businesses with the Ted Sharon project, we really need to get the village looking better. We need it to be clean. We need it to be hygienic. I'd also like us to think about maybe in next year's budget, instituting a recycling program. Many communities, instead of just one trash can, they have like 2 or 3 where people can put plastic bottles in their cans and things. And I think that might help things look better and cleaner. So I just want to kind of bring this up. Maybe we can talk about it more, do some investigation, and kind of put it on our radar. I'm sure there are more dumpsters in the other parking lot. I just didn't have time to go over there and take a look at them.
Thank you, and you're right. You're right. It doesn't look good, especially, and I kept thinking about the new businesses Ted Sharon's opening up. He needs the parking lot, and we need to do a lot of work, but I absolutely agree if we can start by cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe even start a campaign to ask people to be a little more responsible.
Mm-hmm.
You find a place to put your cigarette bottle, find a place to put your trash. Street.
Right. Many businesses in other places have those, like,
They have some,
those tall
yes.
things
Well,
where you put your,
There's a
Use those.
couple of nice organizations within the village that, and they're the younger youth. And you might be able to do it in regards with Rotary. There's Rotaract that's at the college, and they always are looking for different projects, and that would be a great thing. And now they have Interact on the high school level.
right.
And that would be great to get them up, if they were able, they do fundraisers, maybe they could provide some of the receptacles. They could have their logo on it.
That'd be
And
great.
that would be a great way to
Yeah.
incorporate both the college level and the, the high school level. It
Yeah.
might be something to consider. We can take that up to Rotary too.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do think we should start something like a
Yeah.
campaign to let people know, to remind them. I mean, everybody knows, but,
Right.
start reminding everybody. to
Fredonia
be a little
Pride,
more-
have pride in your community, and
Exactly.
please take care of the
Being a little more
community.
Is there any
responsible.
requirements for the businesses that have people that, when they smoke, to come out of their business to the sidewalk, to have any kind of receptacles for smoking receptacles? I mean, did we ever,
I don't
we
believe
go up to
it.
these businesses and ask them, you have people that smoke at your business and they come out on the sidewalk and smoke?
Right,
Could you-
yeah.
Could you place something out there at least that, it could be as simple as
I think it's a good
that.
idea, but I
It'd
don't
be
think
just
there
a-
is anything in place, right? Am I right? Yes.
What about keeping your sidewalk clean of debris?
Well, I think the cigarette butts is more littering. I don't know.
There's a lot of broken glass.
Yeah.
which is a concern.
That's the businesses need the state to start taking pride in their
Pride in-
property.
Yeah.
They need, or any property, it would be business or residential, if it's a mess, it needs to be cleaned up, and they need to do that. There's only so much the village.
Can be
government
responsible
body
for.
Right, can be responsible, exactly. So we're here to help the village look better on our part, but they also have to take their part. It's their responsibility and be part of the community. It is important, and it's important that they do, it really is.
I agree with all of this.
You know, Phyllis and I have been out visiting businesses. That could be a subject that we could approach with them. It's just as simple as, you want to please work with us, and, instead of forcing some kind of rules or ordinances on them, I think if you
Right.
speak
Yeah.
face to face with
And
somebody and say,
it's-
look,
it's
at
all-
front
it's
of your
all of
business
the
looks
business. I
terrible.
mean, if you have a
Cigarette
business
butts,
on Main
can you help
Street-
us out?
Right. We don't want to make it a burden or necessarily another rule or another law, but
I think there's very
let's
simple solutions.
do
to all
something.
this.
There is.
There is, I'm sure, but the existence of the law helps as well.
Right. Well, I think we need, I would like us to consider looking at enclosing the dumpsters.
Dumpsters I think, can that be something we could look at under zoning, and then maybe the planning board could look at or to implement?
Yeah, most communities do it while they're in their design regs. When your
That's what I
business
was
comes
thinking.
forward to the planning board,
Okay.
that's one of the things they have to show as a screening.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have businesses like that are coming in, that are starting off from scratch. But perhaps we're getting ready to start working on a property maintenance code.
Mhm.
We could put it in there, we can look at a spot in the zoning that we could put it.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right, it should be done.
It should be.
Most communities do that, have them screened in.
I know there's been other businesses that have properties to the back parking lots that have actually asked this board of interest to have maybe a single dumpster location that's
Right, yeah.
enclosed. So, he came one gentleman came a couple of times. And if that's something that you could help,
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
I've got a dumpsters problem right now, complaint that I'm bouncing back and forth. And that would actually solve the problem if they had a screened
Sure would.
dumpster in it.
Great.
Mhm.
Sure.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll look forward to hearing
Excellent.
something on that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and go to the old business about the night and by home.
Is it all set? You had a conversation?
Well, we have a new letter, as you,
Okay.
so here, by Mr. Dengler, as the president of
What did I do with it?
Chamber of Commerce. Please read it. It's about this coming week, this Wednesday, from Music in the Park.
Yeah, I mean, I still have concerns. I mean, at this point, our charter hasn't been changed, and if this is something that the village residents want in the future, we need to have a public referendum, public hearings, and discuss it so that that's the way that it changed. But as we're doing it right now, we're currently breaking our charter, and it opens us up for, even with all the things that you have in place, it still opens us up for a lot of liability. And, until this point, I don't feel comfortable putting that liability on the village residents at any point. Not that I want to discourage anything, and everything that's happened so far, I can't stop. It's been researched a little bit more recently, and we're able to understand a lot more facts and situations involved in it.
Now,
I just want to have a little bit of correction. Our charter doesn't say anything about alcohol, that's the code book.
Okay, our code then.
So we can amend the code easier than the charter, but still, it's in the code book, you're right. And it says about, the code book refers to the Russell Joy Park and also block parties.
As the
Everyone in
exceptions.
the village as the exceptions, that's correct.
But neither of these, I think, would fall under those exceptions. So that'd be kind of going pretty far. But still, I
so, okay, but what about the other things that I understand we don't, I get the whole liability thing, obviously, we want to be very careful with that. But what about now, okay, so what about Red, White, and Blues? Are we not going to allow it for the Red, White, and Blues Festival?
We already passed a resolution for that, which, and when we're done with our conversation, I'd like to address that, but,
Didn't we already pass a resolution for this at the last meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, it
we
is,
did.
it's done.
yeah, we
It
did.
was
we
3 to
did.
1.
You're
Okay.
absolutely correct.
So we're not rescinding that, correct?
Deal breaker for us. We're just looking for direction.
Oh, no, and right now, I just don't, right, what we're doing right now, we're opening up Pandora's box for every organization,
I
whether
don't,
it
I
be
disagree.
I disagree.
Fredonia Fest or whomever would want alcohol included in their event right now.
Each event is on its own merit, and so it's not opening Pandora's box by any means. We did pass this resolution. They are providing insurance and an additional liquor liability insurance, the $1 million liability, which we normally require, but also the $2 million additional,
What's 2 million?
the $2 million additional
You're right,
liquor
you're right,
liability.
email.
Right.
No, it's
That-
they're 1 million.
It said 2 million.
You
Yeah,
said
there was one
No,
too.
it's 2 million accumulated, so it's
I thought it
1
said-
million
I thought it said
per
additional
event.
2 million.
2 million accumulated. In other words, if there's 2 people hurt, it's $1 million per case.
Oh,
Okay.
If there's 3 people hurt, it's 2 million.
But we still have the additional, it's not just the one, but there is. the
I know what I
additional-
wrote.
Yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, no,
No.
I do, but we do, but prior to now, we didn't have even that, we do have this now for this one, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the resolution that was passed wasn't this.
Right.
That's right, that's a new letter.
This is a new, okay, so
Um,
this,
Right.
So this is
Somebody
just
said, I
adding
don't
the
know.
additional insurance on this particular resolution,
but
right?
also
That's
it's,
disclosing that there's additional.
It's disclosing.
Yeah.
It's also detailing out what the resolution should be instead of what we asked for last time.
yeah, because you're asking for more detail on, there was requests for more detail. And so
Yeah, they
he
needed
provided-
to be
He provided
more
more
specific.
detail to what
I
was,
can-
what
I
to what we
see.
passed. So, I mean.
The
just-
other,
Go ahead.
the other question I had, I was somewhat taken back with the additional vendors that showed up that evening, the one that pulled up their vehicle right up onto the roadway and the sidewalks and everything. My question is if they have to have a permit to be in, for what we just had, the farm festival, they had to have the permits. And then you have it for the weekly farmer's
Farmers market.
market. Did that transpire so that if the person comes again with the clothing, I mean, what have we done?
With them, they have to have their permits with them and their New York State tax certificate with them in order to operate there. We didn't require it at that time, that we should have made it very clear that we didn't have them sign an application like we did with Red, White, Blues, the farmer's market and all that. That's been changed. No
Okay.
one's gonna operate in a park without signing an agreement.
Of some sort, okay. And then there's nobody parking up on the sidewalks or anything like that? Okay.
Yeah, Jim, I said we're opening up a Pandora's box. You just can't be discriminative now to any organization who wants to have alcohol involvement in their event. Bad things do happen. I don't know if anybody remembers Stockton Gala days. It no longer exists. It no longer exists for a reason. I think, Larry, you asked me last time if there was any court cases, and that's actually a court case, Haskell versus Chautauqua County, where some people were killed in a car accident. And that basically, they ended up suing every fire department in Chautauqua County because they were part of that event. So there are bad things that happen in events, and it's just a large liability that with our rules, our code, and our charter that we have in place, our code does not allow that. And when we bypass that, we create substantial liability not only for the village residents, but for ourselves as well. And that's my concern.
But what if it's past precedent? I mean, these things have been going on in the park for years where people have been,
It hasn't been for years. It's just
Red,
been-
White, and Blues Festival?
No, we've never
Yep.
sold alcohol in the
No.
park.
It's not selling. They purchase alcohol in the business and for safety reasons.
I thought there was wine and beer tasting.
Last year. We haven't reintroduced it last year, but we can get into kind of detail we're getting into now.
And what about the farm festival?
You see, these are things that
Yeah,
without
the farm
council.
festival, you let that come in last year, because I remember I wasn't happy about that, the wine slush.
Right.
And this is what it says, it's opening the, suspending the open container law for that portion of the park, just like you would as if for a block party,
And it's just in the park, correct?
So if
Sort
there is
of
only
what
the
I do.
sampling by, let's say, there is like a procedure in place where you have to be checked that you are over 21, and then somebody stamps your hand, and you go only for sampling to the specific, to the vendor who is not going to sell anything, he's just
Yeah.
going to sample his wine in the glass that he's going to provide with a specific an ounce or 2 ounces, whatever is the allowable.
Allowable.
And
But that's not what this resolution
That's not what
says.
this
No,
not
this
what
isn't,
this
he's
is.
selling it.
That's all
They do
fine,
sell
and
wine,
if
yes.
our.
Well,
our
if we
code-
have it-
if
go
our-
ahead.
If our code allowed that, that would be super, and it still doesn't keep you from liability.
No, I'm just trying to.
Well, nothing is going
put
to
everything
ultimately
together,
keep you from
you know.
liability. We're
Not
going to be
doing that
liable
would
no
be-
matter what. Anything can happen at any time, and we can be liable.
It's true, I mean,
But you know what, though?
anywhere,
I
anytime.
mean,
People
you-
do this all over the state, I mean, all over the country, all over the world. Communities do this, and in order to have a community that's.
I mean, if
Open
a
and
restaurant
welcoming.
has tables outside, are they allowed to sell wine there?
Not outside.
Not in
no.
Fredonia,
Not
but in other
outside.
communities.
Because we were
So-
encouraging
Their
that
liquor
before.
licenses for inside
Inside
the
the
premises
premises.
for a specific area within the premises.
So if somebody eats
That's
dinner
as far-
outside, they can't have a glass of wine with their.
They
with their
can if they
dinner.
have the correct licenses and they have the
Right.
correct insurances.
They
And
can
it's city
consume it
establishment.
outside.
Barker,
that has it.
EBC does have that additional liability
For their-
insurance on theirs,
Yeah.
on their property. So they can serve beyond their physical facility there. They can serve out onto the sidewalks, into the alleyway there.
Isn't that just what this is doing though, then? I mean, because if they have an off-premises license, then they have the right to serve and sell, if they have the appropriate licenses.
They're not selling on the street. They're selling inside their premises and then taking it outside.
This
They're
is not the same.
There's a technicality. They're not actually selling the alcohol in the street.
Right,
That
but
was
that's-
one
but
thing
that's-
when we did this a few years ago, when we closed the alley and they wanted to cordon off the
Right.
alley to
Well, they
allow
sold
people to
inside,
come
yeah.
outside. It was, they were selling inside and allowing people to come outside where they had a band or something in the alley. And that's what it
Well,
was.
that may be particular
And that's
to
what
that
those
type of
licenses
business,
are
though.
for.
But I mean, my understanding is these wine vendors have off-site licenses. They have permits that allow them to do something different than what you're explaining.
Right.
Something.
Yes.
Is that what
Something.
you said this morning?
It's a
Yes.
different.
They have to have that, because they're always at different events.
Right.
Whether it's the county fairs or.
Right, so it's a different type of coverage. It's not on premises or from inside to outside
Modified
the
license.
premises. It's a modified, right, to where they don't have to be on any particular space. They are allowed to take that license and wherever they go, whether it be the county fairgrounds or some, I don't know what you would call it, some type of fundraiser or something somewhere. They can do it.
And there was a marketing license, correct?
What we got from them were certificates of liability insurance.
No, yeah, I know about the insurance side, the alcohol license, the license with the marketing license,
There's a
which
license-
restricts them to tasting.
There is a license that's just a marketing license, and there's a full-blown license. Mazza has a full-blown license because they've got all three lines of
I think we were only provided a marketing license.
You were from Victorianburg, and that was for Red Wing Blues. I had them redo that for you,
Okay.
because we knew that that was a different license.
So
But
this,
Mazza has a full-blown license.
I was going to say, that winery coming in,
Yeah,
That's a full blown.
yes, because they've got wine, beer, and liquor, so they've got to have it all.
Well, and I can also see, if people have to get a wristband or a stamp, I don't think that's a problem. That makes sense to me.
To
you know.
verify they've
Or
been checked.
somehow
for-
they have, you
Right.
have
To
to
verify they've been
check.
Right.
checked for lead. for-
Right.
So
I don't think that would be a problem or an issue.
I'm trying to understand, the problem is the sampling or the sale? Or both?
Both at the moment, for our code does not allow either one in our public places.
But didn't Todd say in this email, I could be wrong, maybe I was reading it wrong, he said that we can lift that ban.
Right.
We can legally lift that ban, correct? Is that what he said?
That's in essence, you're breaking your code
Right.
by doing that. And our insurance company does not like that extra liability. That's a
You can
major
lift,
problem
you
there.
can lift the code in Russell Joy Park. It's specific in your code that says that there's no alcohol consumption or sale within any village-owned properties, except
Okay,
Russell Joy Park, which
Right.
can be done, not the sale, but the consumption of alcohol can be done with the approval of the village board and an official, an officer, an appropriate officer of the village giving approval to that consumption. But it's specific to Russell Joy Park, both, and it mentions both upper and lower pavilions by name.
yep.
So it's very specific.
I guess I was just asking that if that's, I have no really problem with all that, but unless the public, we change the code, and to change the code, you have to have public hearings and referendum vote, and everybody needs to understand
Then I
all the
wanna do that.
ramifications, that's all.
This is it.
And that's my position. I just want to do it the right way and make sure
Yeah.
we limit our liability. I understand we can never totally limit it, but,
Well, then let's do this and get it on the ballot for November. Let's work on this. I think Brad suggested that we put together a committee.
Yes.
Other
And
communities do this.
I am
Other communities
working
have
on
these
putting-
vibrant,
Putting together a committee. for-
wonderful things going on where people come in and spend money and
To
have fun and
revisit
their
that.
families are there. And I would like us to be part of that too.
Yeah,
I
to
think it will
revisit
help
that.
us, so,
this would involve public hearings.
right. We've got time between now and November.
Oh, we don't need
No, it's
anything in
not-
I
no,
don't
it's not
November.
a-
think
it's not a
It's not a
I think it's just a
referendum.
public hearing.
Yeah,
It's
Oh,
just public
it doesn't
hearing
have to
on
be
the-
voted on?
No,
No,
no.
no.
it's
Okay, so it's not a
referendum.
ballot issue?
No,
No.
no, it's just a public hearing.
Okay.
Like a local
You
law.
would call for a public hearing.
Well, can we
to
do
allow
that for the
people
next
to come in
meeting?
and give their opinion.
We have to give them some time, right?
Oh, yeah, it has to be drafted, and then it has to come to the board, and then they have to set a time for the public, it has to sit on the board's desk for, I believe, 7 or 10 days.
Okay.
Then beyond that, there's a public hearing that's established. That's the night that you have the public hearing, you listen to the public, and then you make up your mind what you
Okay.
want to do.
Would also like to have, if this is the direction, if it makes it easier, if we do come up with a local development corporation to make things happen.
I think that's-
I mean,
Yeah, we
there's-
talked about
But
that.
in other
lately,
communities, the
because it
Chamber of
takes the
Commerce is
liability.
the committee that does it,
Yeah,
that
but-
leads the,
Yeah, some do, some.
for some communities, it's the chamber that sort of leads the charge.
That would fit for this village. 'cause-
right.
The chamber could do it, and which in this
Like
case.
Westfield
which in this
does their
case-
first Friday, it's
which
the
in this
Chamber of
case,
Commerce that
The
does
chamber
that.
is doing it. But,
But no, I don't think the chamber's doing it in the capacity of what they're talking
Right.
about, where
No,
they
no,
have,
you're right.
yeah.
And at these hearings, I strongly encourage our village insurance carrier to be here to discuss.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, I don't
that's
think
not.
Why
that's
not?
an open meeting,
No, that's,
insurance company.
it-
Why would that be a bad idea, to let the public know
Yeah.
that what the liabilities are to do this? I mean.
But the liability would be changed if we changed the code, correct?
Well, if
If we
we
change
change
the
it to let
code-
it go, no, your insurance rates are gonna go up. Once you start
Once you're
allowing
allowing it, yeah.
the tasting
just as
and the
bad.
selling within the downtown park, I mean, what he's already gotten to date from the insurance carrier, our rates are definitely going to escalate.
Well, they
I
are,
mean-
but at the same time, if we have an event that is going to bring
Bring
to
money into the
village
community.
$500,000, yes, okay, well, then we're going to pay for the
I mean,
the
let's
insurance.
give
Okay,
an
this-
estimate of what Red, White, and Blues brings to this village. I mean, you've got people from all over the place coming
I'm
here.
talking all over the country.
Yes.
There are people coming from North Carolina, from Ohio.
I mean, nobody's suggesting that, I'm
Yeah.
going to have my birthday party and let's lift it up without any
No,
reason.
but I would like the public to understand all the issues involved. That, and maybe somebody from the New York State Liquor Authority to come and explain all the rules in addition.
How come other communities can do these things without,
this
without,
seems to be
without all of
all
this?
Because they follow those guidelines, and they're following them.
Sounds like there's just some code issues that don't exist in the village.
The village is going to be,
I just want to be in compliance
the
with,
people are
Like
going to
Dunker.
be aware of the change in the code, obviously. That's why we're going to have the public hearing. From that point on, if every negotiation we have with insurance company is a public issue, I
To
mean-
avoid us from going round and round individually here on this, forming a
Then you
local,
have-
Well, I
forming a
just-
local development corporation.
I'm trying to
would
be
a great way
transparent
to
here.
make-
Okay.
transparent is, but think
It
about
is
that. I am an
transparency.
insurance company, I'm coming here, I discuss with all of you whatever I want to offer.
The other thing is, they're gonna say, don't do it.
There is another insurance
Right.
company who is going to call the next day
I'm
and
sure
say,
they
I
will.
can
Yeah, because
give
they
you
don't wanna
this-"
pay out.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
It's going to call the next day and they can say, well, I'm going to give you exactly the same with a lower price. I mean, that's not transparency, that's really a mess.
call it what you want. That's what I would request for our meeting, our public hearings, is representatives from our insurance carrier or other carriers and the New York State Liquor Authority to
I think
Make
that's,
sure we
I
follow
think
the
that's
right
something that you
things.
negotiate with insurance companies after you decide what you plan on doing.
No, he wants the negotiations here.
Yeah, we're going to negotiate with the insurance company in public like
One
that.
that represents multiple insurance companies that understands insurance industries like the law, to come and talk to
I mean, that's my
Because
problem.
they don't care what insurance company they do business with, they're gonna give you the best.
The
That's
issue
what my
that,
point
Knowing what they
is.
have.
the issue that we have with the village's insurance, we have exactly two that fit on our insurance, because we have a high hazard dam that has a lot of downstream implications. So there's not a lot of insurance companies out there that will insure the village. So if you start adding layers of additional liability to that, you may get one of them to say, you know what, it's too much, we're over the top, we're bowing out. Now you're left with one. Now you're left at the mercy of one insurance company, and you don't negotiate, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't negotiate with insurance companies. You get your bill for your car insurance, you go to them and say, I want to negotiate this. They give you the bill, you pay it. I mean, that's the way it is, especially when you're confined to one or two insurance companies. I mean, we try to bid out every few years, we go and bid out our insurance, but we get the same two all the time. Everybody else bows out. In fact, when I was going to NICOM every year for my training at NICOM, there used to be different insurance companies there. As soon as they heard Village of Fredonia, they said, oh yeah, we'll see you later, you know, because they realized, you know, we have that
But
high
now we're
hazard
fixing
dam.
the dam.
It's a big,
So we are fixing
Which is
the
a good
dam,
thing.
so there's no
Right,
problem
yeah.
like that. We're going to have
Right now, we need
We're
to
we're
talk
open
about
distilleries, we're closing the dam. We're doing-
Exactly, yeah.
we're not closing anything, we're fixing things.
this. What should we need to, but right now, we need to deal with this, so
Well,
what are we gonna do?
The way I see it, we have to do it to just pull it out, right? Is that
The
what?
resolution for that event has already passed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is just giving us more information on what recent things have happened.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
There's no
going
action
forward, we
taken.
just need to look at how to maybe do some things differently,
You make sure.
whatever that may be.
All right. So what exactly is allowed and what is not? So everybody
I
is.
think we did tasting, right? Is that
Tasting,
what-
that's what
I
I believe
That
so,
was
yes.
What the mayor was
So-
talking about earlier, the
Right.
tasting and the regulations associated with
Right.
tasting. and-
So can we make sure that these regulations, like just tasting, they provide the glass specific, 2 ounces and somebody check.
selling wine last time.
Will they come if it's just a tasting without the I mean, they do a tasting hoping people will buy their product, right? So they probably won't come if it's just a tasting.
But if we come out of this meeting where it's just a tasting, I'm calling him right away to give him the idea
Well,
what's going on.
but the
'Cause
thing
I ruined
is-
his expectation too.
As I said, I went to wine tasting festivals on the lake. They're not allowed to sell there either. You just taste and you get the card and you're supposed to go to the winery or if they have a store, you go to your store. But you can't leave the festival with a bottle of wine.
You won't be leaving the park with a bottle of wine, I guarantee that.
Okay.
But last time people bought bottles of wine.
Oh, no,
Business in
for
it.
drinking, no,
They have to
that
start.
was not allowed. It was not, the only thing they allow is to taste. So to taste and say, I like this one, so I'm going to get it.
Yeah. But last time, they sold bottles of wine.
No, I
You're not allowed to buy,
understand
they're
that.
not allowed to sell a glass of
Correct.
wine.
Right.
That's correct.
The issue was, there was a misunderstanding with the trustees. They thought it was just going to be a sampling, it wasn't. It was a sampling and sales. That's what brought about all this discussion about
Right.
alcohol in parks. So now we're back at you again, asking through that new request. But I don't know if it's a resolution or not, because you already passed a resolution. It's an amended resolution, basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, the resolution is only for tasting, as I understand it. And I wasn't here, but I think, right?
Yes, that's the way it was written. I think it was just
Yep.
written as a tasting.
He's got it, I
I
think.
didn't bring it.
I can.
I mean, to get the specifics. It doesn't matter, I don't know.
Okay, can I read it?
Oh, you got it? Yeah.
Yes. This is from Mr. Dangler. The Fredonia Chamber of Commerce respectfully requests the following uses of village property, specifically Barker Common, Wednesday, July 26, 2017, and Wednesday, August 30th, 2017, for an event called An Evening in Barker Common. We anticipate using the Barker Common from 5 to 9 p.m., which will allow time for setup and cleanup of the events. Our event will run concurrently with the village-sponsored
There was not a
Wednesday.
resolution, though.
No, this is this is a
The
request
resolution-
letter,
The
Yeah,
resolution.
okay.
but I think I have the resolution here too.
The resolution would,
Okay, well, okay, I'll give you the resolution. Correspondence was received from David Dangler, President of Fredonia Chamber of Commerce, requesting the use of Barker Common, the area around the information booth, and to suspend the open container law for an evening in Barker Common event, Wednesday, July 26, 2017, and Wednesday, August 30th, 2017, from 5 to 9 p.m. Be it resolved that the request from the Chamber of Commerce to use Barker Common, the area around the information booth for wineries to sample their products and to have a bounce house available on Wednesday, July 26, 2017, and Wednesday, August 30th, 2017, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. is hereby approved, with the stipulation that the group will be responsible for cleanup and is subject to the direction of the Police Department and the village receiving a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the village as an additional insured, which the village has received. Be further resolved that the open container ordinance will be suspended from 5 to 9 p.m. on the said dates in the contained area around the information booth for wines served by the vendors, subject to the compliance with all state liquor laws and regulations and all other applicable law. That was the resolution.
So there's no resolution for selling.
That was my intention when I wrote it. Just wine tasting. And then when the event happened, there was no wine, I was just quite frankly surprised as anybody else. There was some bottles of wine individually.
So wine tasting is going to be okay,
So-
but selling.
Can't sell.
they won't be
Yeah,
able to
that's
sell.
the resolution.
That was the resolution, unfortunately.
There you go.
I'll have to let her know that.
All right. All right, so let's get further down. And then we have the Chautauqua County Services Savings Plan. I believe trustee Linden gave us a printout of the services, and he wanted us to review it.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot to be considered in this.
Up to 2 pages are, you know, for Fredonia, the rest
Right.
is for the rest.
Yeah, they're right, a lot of it's for the other communities and things.
I didn't bring mine.
But with the shared services, this is actually a draft of the plan that they want to certify with, of savings, that they're looking to send to the state to comply with the request of the state for shared services. So there's a lot to be considered whether we should be moving forward with this or not, because they're going to have 3 more meetings. I think tomorrow, there is one tomorrow night, I believe, at
Nobody
Dunkirk,
told me anything.
at the incubator in Dunkirk.
Oh, yes, no, you're right. Yes,
But
that is,
what is, for me, the consideration on this is first of all, the same plan that they brought forward for the $20 million grant proposal. They used that as a way to get to this point with all the shared programs. But they do have to present something to the state. If they don't, they just have to redo it again next year.
It's not only that,
But-
it has to be understood that what they present to the state is going to be a referendum in November.
Right.
So whatever they present to the state, as long as we approve that, and I have the right to pull anything that is ours out of that.
Right.
However, if we say okay, then it goes to referendum. And if the referendum is approved by the people, then we are pretty much obligated to go
Obligated.
through with everything.
Right, so this is why I think we should discuss this a bit.
And that's why
In the time frame is, say, I requested, I know Phyllis was at part of them, and I was at some of them. The time frame is interesting because we don't have acknowledgement of winning any $20 million. And I specifically requested a comparison study of where we would be specifically, the part I was at, for the shared police department. And they said they would provide that information, so we know where we stand if we were to move forward with this plan. But they have not provided for that. And Vince Horgan actually stated that to me, that the cost of that, they can't provide it right now unless we should win the $20 million. And then of course, if we did the study, we would pay for the study and the money would come out of the $20 million to pay for that study. Well, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse kind of thing. So, because how do we have any kind of idea except for their estimated amounts in here? Because these numbers are, something that they just kind of threw together basically to come up with
these numbers, I don't know where they based them. Really, they have three numbers in there.
But certainly, yes, but certainly we need to be wary of wareful, I should say, of where, what we're getting into. If we're going to obligate ourselves to this, this is currently a draft of the plan, but if we're going to, put it to referendum, that we obligate ourselves, such as the police department. I know we've been looking at this for a while now to go into something new, but it could take years to go through. If we're going to obligate ourselves with the state for anything to happen, we may be stuck for a long, long time. Now, if we don't get the $20 million, we may still be obligated.
Now,
But the
are
way
you
we was
seeing the building, or are they looking at to consolidate
just
the
the
two departments?
physical building.
Initially, it's just the building. You can draw any kind of, you can think whatever you like from
Yeah.
that point on.
Okay.
But initially, it's just the two buildings, because at this point,
Okay.
for us to consolidate departments is very, very difficult. We mean that we have to abolish our own department, which has to go to referendum and all that,
Right.
and then actually request and get services from the Dunkirk, City of Dunkirk
Okay.
Police Department. But at this point, we are looking into cohabitating, let's say, in the same building.
Okay.
And there are not too many options. There's only one option. We can only go to the building that is behind the DFD, the DNF Plaza. That's the only place we can go. Now, as far as we knew from the beginning, their court also was going to come too. Now the court is staying where it was before. Only the police station is coming this way. So,
Was
Was that decided in the plan? Is that what they proposed?
Disgusting or something.
The courts are discussed back in the plan.
Because there was an article in the paper today about
Yeah.
consolidating the courts.
they're
That's
going
right.
to consolidate their own courts, and that's different.
Okay, so not local, like if you have a speeding ticket or whatever, you won't have to go to Mayville to,
Maybe.
Contested
I don't know
or whatever.
How exactly we're going to do it, yes, I don't know any details. But for us, at this point, at least, is only the building.
right there, it talks about the Dunkirk City Court expanding its footprint at the City Hall.
That's right.
It's right,
So they
it's right.
they stay where they are.
It's on page 31 at the
Right.
bottom part is.
Yeah, I
Correct.
read it.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
right.
Page
So
31.
Yeah.
What are they asking, I mean, again, are we caught again on the real short time frame? Because I thought everything had to be in by
Right.
August something.
My
when
No,
understanding-
that was for the $20 million grant.
Right.
This is a competitive grant, and the county is going for the grant for the whole county, for all the services. Now, however, the governor, when he presented and they passed his budget, he has as a requirement from every county to put in front of the citizens this November a referendum of consolidating departments, villages, whatever they can consolidate as a way to save money to the taxpayers. Now, the way I understood the governor's budget, it says specifically that in order to put something in referendum, you have to show continuous tax savings, which means if you do that, this is how much money the village of Fredonia is going to need from the taxpayers.
Okay.
And it has to be not only once, but in continued basis.
Right.
I don't see anything like that in this paper. I didn't see anything, and I read it very carefully.
And what that does is, what this does is, aside from what they proposed, with the grant, the $20 million grant, even if they do do a study, if say they do get it, because I believe in October they're going to announce the grant money. Even if they do get it, that only covers the cost of the building. Any additional increases in cost to us.
We don't know
are-
if it covers the whole building.
And we still won't even know, even if they do win it, we don't even know if it's going to cover the whole cost, he stated. Which is interesting, because in here they talk about shared costs and stuff, but we don't even know if it's going to cover the whole cost of a shared municipal building.
No, it's going, yeah.
And it's going to be in a location that may not be as desirable as we might think for the village. But as far as what they have stated in this, what we're talking about here with this draft, they talk about a complex of $7.1 million. If that was a 23,000 square foot complex, they gave a number per square foot. We wouldn't need something as large as that, obviously. I believe something in the neighborhood of 12 to 14,000 square feet, which would put us in the range of $3 to $4 million.
These are specifics.
But these are
That's what I
specifics.
wanted to know. That's what I
Right.
want to know. Same thing with the water district, North County Water District. Overall, it's going to be
Right.
good, yes, but what is the specific? Let's say, if you build your own police department, it's going to cost this amount of money because you have this architect who gave us this plan, and we went to two different, construction companies, and they gave us this number. So you have a number. And then you say that if you do it together, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is how much we're going to give you. So we know to compare apples with apples. Otherwise, I feel like I'm signing on the dotted line.
Right.
I'm not sure what's
I mean,
going on.
they give a number of possible savings. If it would be 5%, then over 20 years, you'll save $5 million. Well, we don't know that without this stuff. I mean, that's, all that is a pie-in-the-sky dream, because, I mean, we have nothing to compare it to, nothing of reality to compare it to, nothing in reality to compare it
I mean, I
to.
want everybody to understand, obviously, if somebody comes with two numbers, and they say, this is the number that you're going to need for a combined building, and this is the number you're going to need for one building of your own, and there is a considerable savings, none of us is going to say no.
Right,
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to say no.
right.
But what am I comparing? I mean, I read that.
Right. Well, going into it with the grant application was one thing, because they gave us the confirmation that we could always back out if we decided we didn't want to take part of it, some or a part, or none. But the idea was to take part in it so that the county could then initiate that application for the possibility of winning $20 million. Whether we used it or not, it would still stay in the county for somebody's projects. we wanted.
No, that's fine.
We wanted to be part of that. But this is a little bit different. This is the draft of what they're looking to send to the state. And also, should we have an increase in cost on our part? Like I said, if we were to build our own, say it costs $3 to $4 million. There's an end to that cost. Once it's paid for, it's paid for. But we know where we stand as far as our contracts with our department and stuff. Now, if we, without any comparisons, they may hold you to this building, whether they give you any money or not, it's still going to cost $7 million. Who's going to pay for it? They're claiming, well, there's funding that they may help us with.
Right.
That they think that there's plenty of options. They told me.
Well,
Many of
there's
options.
plenty of the
Well, the
options.
options are there regardless. Whether we build our own or not, those are the same options.
some
But we're not
options
being
are-
held to doing something with the city regardless. Like, I mean, I'm a little
Some
bit
options are
concerned with
there
that.
just because, you consolidate, but I just, personally, I just want to see the numbers, one next to the other. That's how I think, that's how I operate.
Jim, have you had any communication with anybody from this commission other than reading this here? I mean, have you talked to
I'm
anybody?
Well, yeah.
the representative of the village there.
She's the representative.
Okay.
I just want to have some kind of, where you stand in. I
So
mean, I
have you
have,
spoke to George or
I-
Vince Horgan? or
I
anybody?
spoke
I
to-
spoke to everybody, yes.
I went to the meeting in Mayville on this. This is while I was there.
Okay.
And, well, because she was on vacation. So I went to the meeting, and Vince Horgan said, even if we do win the money, he said, and we build a portion or all of the shared complex, regardless, anything else is up to you. I said, well, if there's a massive increase due to contractual obligations, maybe union issues or something, that cause us to have a significant annual increase, because if you've got to remember, the cost of our police department personnel costs are probably close to double of what Dunkirk's are. I'm not sure. It's a significantly more, regardless of the number. But if we're brought into that same category of staffing, then we could end up having to pay more than the savings could ever possibly be. But we need to know that, because maybe it wouldn't. Maybe we could get around it. But he said that that's on you guys. It doesn't matter. You'll have to deal with that yourselves. He told me specifically. He said, that is going to be your problem, not the county's, okay, when they come to, if we do get that built. But as far as shared services goes, there's no, this thing has nothing to do with grants. This is just saying that we're looking to do it, okay, this draft. And so where's that money going to come from to share with somebody? I don't know. That's why we asked for those comparisons ahead of time, before the mayor is to,
And I'm going to the next meeting, and I just need some direction from you, what you think about all that, before I talk to them.
Okay, you need to find out, I'm under the impression that would be, given you win the grant, I can't imagine that they would expect you to continue to build a facility
That's
without.
totally different.
That's
We have
separate
to
from
To go
this.
to referendum, no matter what, that's from the governor, that's from his budget, so we do have to go to referendum.
Right.
However, we have the option to pull
Pull
out
out.
anything that we don't like.
right. This is going to have a panel, their panel is going to decide this
Yeah,
soon.
that's what a panel, yes.
What did they say? They're having 4 public hearings? Is this a public hearing?
I don't think it's a public hearing tomorrow. It's,
Have they
It
had?
says
sure.
hearings are going to be held at the, this was actually out of the Observer. Hearings are going to be held at the Fredonia Technology Incubator in Dunkirk on Tuesday at 6:30, and the Emergency Services Headquarters in Mayville on Wednesday, and then, let's see, so we have Jamestown on Thursday.
I'm guessing those are basically public.
So you got,
hearings.
it says
Yeah.
public hearing, it
Those
says
are
hearings.
Okay. So that's-
Because I know in here it said something about, I thought it was 4, but.
Once,
it's
what it
3.
says, once hearings are completed, the local panel will vote to approve the plan. So the local, once those hearings have been had, and so,
The panel is
So
the
what
part of
happened-
the
Right,
panel.
the mayor's part of the panel. So this
And
is why I
so
brought it
say,
now,
when you sit
because
in that
this
big
is
room,
happening.
Then they're gonna go around and say, Mayor Landis, what is your vote?
Yes.
Right.
I see, and you
Yes.
want to know.
But anybody, the public can attend the
Mhm,
public
yeah.
hearings to
Correct.
express their.
Yes,
their
before-
opinion
before
Before,
The vote. Yeah.
before they go to
I bet I
town.
got a lot of people in the crowd.
Now, also with the,
So I
with-
mean, I want you to think about it and see
No,
what
exactly,
we're
that's why I
doing.
was asking about the public hearing, because that's probably an important venue to attend.
I mean, also there's the water, the wastewater treatment plant in here, and the way they
I
make.
think that's reasonable there.
Well, it's reasonable, except for what they put together is, I mean, they talk about revenues from the methane and stuff like that. And the way it represents, it's all, like, they're saying that there's going to be these profits from revenues. Well, what we're, as Phyllis could talk about is that what they talked about, that I understood, was that we would be having a compost on our property that they would then use to final, before, instead of having to take it to the dump or to the transfer.
That's right.
Where, so we would have compost on our site. That has nothing to do with the methane, though.
Well, I think something in the process, right?
No, I think that they were talking about having farmers dump certain things into our digesters to create that methane. As I read through this, I think that that's what they were talking about. Because I had asked
I
that
thought it was
question at
only
one of
from
the
Dunkin'.
meetings. Yeah, I asked that question at one of the meetings about dumpers bringing their sludge to the village thing
Right.
and going into our digester for further processing so we can
Right.
reap the benefit of the methane.
Yeah.
And they said, oh no, we're not putting that through your digester, it's just going like Jim
Into a
said.
compost.
It's going directly into the compost pile.
Right.
In other words, they're processing it to the end of Dunker,
And then,
even though Dunker doesn't get any methane.
Right,
because
right.
They have a different type of digester.
okay.
But they want to
And
share.
they're just going to dump it on our
But
site.
I think we can still talk about that, and we
Yeah.
can still negotiate that.
Yeah.
Because they can definitely get some, some savings to what they're doing now. They're taking it to be very far away, and they have to put lime in it and all of that. So we can do it without all this. So they can pay us a little bit less than what they pay there, and have the same things.
Well, it's-
Is there any members here who are able to attend that tomorrow, in addition to the mayor?
I cannot.
Thank you.
Those of you who want to try to?
I'll see, it's Gretchen's.
What time is it again?
Okay.
I don't know.
6:30.
6:30?
6:30, I think.
Probably not.
You know, it's as you said, show me the numbers first before we make a commitment, and
Well, this was our concern in the
We've
first
been down
place.
this road
they-
on
We were
and on.
hesitant to
and
do
they say,
this in the
well,
first
I
place.
can't be specific about the numbers before we actually commit, and we actually have somebody to go and pay money. Well, we know that, we paid $150,000 to find out about the water district.
Well, that's what
So,
it is here.
Of course, it's, but you're right, I will ask the same thing.
Well, we
Yes.
definitely need to do the vetting, but this is
Consulting
an example of, we need to do that with all grants that we receive and are having applications for. We need to do the proper vetting because we need the numbers on everything.
But
Right, yeah.
that's not the grant is fine.
Right,
This is the referendum.
This is, right.
That's
On
the
any
problem.
part of the
That's the referendum,
process,
has
we need
nothing
to
to
know
do.
where we're at.
But you
And-
have one vote out of 42, or out of
Yes.
40?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? That's
Fuck with
it.
that.
Well, yeah, but
I'm gonna
this is-
talk to other people then. How do you think? Well,
Yeah,
and the bad thing is, when it's put to referendum, is one vote.
I know.
You vote for everything.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
how it
different.
was with water.
It's one vote for this
the whole
whole thing,
package.
the whole package.
It's for the whole
yes.
package, correct.
And it's going to
So you're not
involve
voting on
like
individual
Silver Creek and, Ripley and everything you see in that package, one vote.
Color in Jamestown.
So like I said,
That
that's,
doesn't
this
even,
is
why, I
what,
mean, why would we vote, that doesn't even make sense. We're gonna vote on something that's
I
gonna
can
happen
tell
in
you.
another municipality.
I mean, that's.
I mean, they talk about a $30,000 per year energy savings. I can't believe it
NICOM
could
was-
possibly.
NICOM was
An
totally-
estimated,
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 yes.
so it could be $3,000.
Yeah.
rather than 30.
And NICOM was totally against that, and they lobbied against it, but at the end, the legislature passed it. So, we're there.
So
Okay, so we're gonna
anyhow,
deal
I
with
mean,
it.
what do we,
Well, I'll go tomorrow, see where we stand, and then give you a report next time. Hopefully it's before my voting process, see where I stand.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Now, actually, since we are talking, Doug, you talked before about visiting businesses.
Yes.
You want to give us a report about that?
Sure. Phyllis and I have visited a number of businesses downtown. We've actually received quite a good response. People are very happy to have a one-on-one discussion with, just listen to anything that they had to say. There really wasn't a whole lot of complaints, except the point of maybe parking was a big issue downtown. But one business would, appreciate water and sewer rates to be reduced and taxes, but, we can do what we can do. But overall, I think visiting the businesses one-on-one and speaking to them, at least they felt like they were at least listening at the very least of anything they
Do you have
had.
any suggestions for us, like anything that we should take out or think?
More events downtown around college, when the college is in session, to create more foot traffic to their businesses. That was kind of, maybe, let's see here.
Write that in capital letters.
I think there's been a few new businesses that have been opening, like the Mexican restaurant and that, and I think offering a variety maybe of different things, like restaurants downtown that offer specific cuisine is a good thing, and I think that's like the Mexican restaurant, they are operating in Dunkirk, and a lot of their business was here in Fredonia, so came down.
So you mean more like ethnic kind of restaurants or for them to have more?
Yep. And actually, there was one business that, it was a female-owned business that we set her in the direction to contact the IDA to see what incentives and so forth that she could take part of being a women-owned business, so.
Okay.
And the other thing too, on a couple of the newer ones was too, I said it really would behoove them to contact somebody from the chamber too, because that was a question I asked, and they had not heard up to date. As of to the time when they saw us, there had been no contact from well, I don't know if they're members yet, but I mean, if you're new into town, yeah.
Was it a new business to us?
Yeah, well, it had changed hands, for those. And there's some pros and cons in regards to the food trucks also. Some were really pretty much adamantly against that it does have a very negative impact, but then some others said that they see where, it can bring in.
Right.
But the biggest thing, and I do agree, we have to have something in our code that kind of regulates something.
Yes,
Because the
I agree with
complaint
that.
they come in and they may bring more foot traffic and all the other stuff, but they're not paying for anything. They don't pay the sewer, the water taxes or anything. So, and the question was, do they have to get a permit? And so that's something, because I know like what Buffalo does, 500 a year to be able to get a permit to go. So that's something that would, that would generate a revenue for us, but
Exactly.
we need to curtail, we need to control that a little
Absolutely,
better.
I do agree with that, yes.
I mean,
right.
so we're getting things, I have the things compiled too,
and
and I
that's
thought,
something we have,
no.
we've been working on,
Yeah.
and we need to complete,
We need to
soon.
complete that, yes.
So that this can then transpire, yeah.
And the thing with the foot traffic, the concern was to create the foot traffic to patronize our businesses, not to, if you're hungry to patronize a restaurant, if you're thirsty to patronize a bar, and it kind of, it's a double-edged sword, bringing the events in here with food trucks or not that I'm saying it's a bad thing, but the idea of foot traffic was to sustain the businesses that we have currently.
Yeah.
That's the chicken or the egg
Well,
kind
I
of
think what
scenario,
would-
though. You gotta, I mean, what are you gonna build first? One or the other? I mean, because one won't come without the other.
But
so-
The other thing that it's part of this whole thing is that we need to have businesses in downtown that bring people in for necessities, like we don't have a drugstore downtown. You know what I mean? If you have a drugstore downtown, for example, or a grocery store, you're going to bring people into your community rather than out that way.
But
And then
it's-
people will park and walk around, and then they'll have
Yeah.
lunch, and then they'll pick up their prescription, and then they'll get their groceries.
And drugstore is something in my mind all the
Right,
time.
like we don't have a lot of
Doing
those kind of
drugstore
necessity
downtown.
kind of businesses
I
that
know.
help bring people into your community.
And it's hard if you're just going to be a pharmacist and they deal just with pharmacy issues, not all the other retail that comes in, and it's your small community. There at one time, there were 3
Right.
pharmacies in downtown.
I remember.
But when the bigger,
Box stores.
yes, come,
The
and the
chains.
stores come to change, and you notice when you go to pick up your prescription, you walk by all the candy and all the doodads and everything before you actually get to, so it's a marketing strategy, so
But,
it's hard.
Like
And
Westfield
what
has a
do we do?
CVS right downtown. I mean, it's a chain,
Yeah.
but it's still in their community, so it still brings
within
people
it.
in rather than having them go to the
But
outskirts of
it's,
the
it's a new
community.
trend now to have your own downtown
Town.
pharmacy.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to England, but I'm sure everywhere it can be done. You go to a store and it looks like a Victorian store, and it's a brand new, very modern pharmacy with all these things around. So
An apothecary.
That's my view of
chemist.
that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. There are a few things that I want to mention as my part of my, of the report. First of all, the Farms Festival, I can't say enough. It was a great success. I was there at the opening with Cara, and then at the parade with Jim. It was excellent, excellent. I thank the organizers, the grades, everybody who took part in it. It was really good. The vendors, I didn't hear anything bad. Everything was very positive. So I do appreciate everybody. The parade was wonderful. So thank you for that. Another good news. I guess I can give you the bad news in the beginning. I just found out that the DOT rescinded the roundabout because the local franchise, McDonald's, actually, they sued them. So they rescinded.
Temporarily, right?
Well,
Well,
maybe,
you don't know.
hopefully. But the thing is that as of today, it's been rescinded. So no roundabout next year. Sorry about that. We'll see where we're going. I have to say that the owner of McDonald's stopped by and talked to me a couple of months ago, a few months ago actually, and we had a good discussion. He was very worried, and I said, well, if there is a small adjustment that they can make, that will be fine. But I didn't have in mind this kind of big adjustment, not to do it at all. So that's it.
Will they do any other improvements to, I mean, the
No.
problem was the accidents.
Yes.
So it was either the roundabout or nothing?
Yeah, well, the roundabout is because of the separate, or, separating the two ways of traffic.
Right.
So that's why, no, they're not building anything
So they're
unless
not
and
gonna,
until.
okay, so
there is
they're
that.
just gonna leave it?
For now, at least,
As
yes,
is.
until they
Well-
see what's going on. But that's from today. Also, now let's go to some good news. SUNY Fredonia just welcomed the second largest incoming first-year class in its history, and this is very good news. I'm very, very glad about that. And actually, I had a meeting with Kevin Kearns 3 days ago, and talking about events downtown. My main concern is that they're doing a lot of things, but they're doing them over there. And I don't want the college to become a resort at the end of the town, at the end of Fredonia. I want them to come down here. And it's easy, they do have events that they welcome all the villas, but the truth is, people don't go too much. So what about if we bring some of that talent down here? We have the Opera House, we have the park. There are so many good ideas. We have the schools. Let's bring it all together. We discussed a few, we had a very long meeting, I have to say, and we discussed some very promising things. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to pull some of these things forward and do them because, this village built this university. We are the university. They are us. I did make that very clear. And they are on the same page, and President Horvath is on the same page. So we agreed on having meetings every 2 to 3 weeks, actually, and I will keep you posted. And lastly, I want to thank Phyllis Jones. Oh. See? Well, I read your minutes from the meetings that you went last time with the fire department.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologize, I was half asleep when I read them first time, but I read them next day, and they were perfect. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And then you went to the water department, and you gave us a report about that too. Perfect. Thank you so very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I do appreciate that. All right. Public portion. We're going to be here for another 3 hours.
Yeah,
Please.
I'd like just clarification on the wine sampling. I would think the winery has expectation to sell the samples, not to give them away.
And
Clarification on that.
I think that's what usually has been done, isn't it?
I
They're
would-
going to sell the samples.
Right, I would think
I
so.
would think so,
Okay.
Is
yes.
that the
They'll do it
point
if
when
they
they
want
check?
to.
Right, it's
for-
just a
is
small-
that the
it's
point
in
that
a-
they check for ID?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
yes, okay,
It's
but
written on the
you
contract.
said no
yes.
selling. You said no selling.
No selling of bottles and all
No
that.
bottles.
Yes, they have to pay for the
Same
sample.
thing, well, you have to
Okay.
have the opportunity to sample.
Right.
I have one more, you talk about dumpsters, David Dangler, 20 Central Avenue. I think there should be some regulation on garbage cans. I had a picture, Mayor, I just sent you a few minutes ago, tear up a picture, garbage cans, you see all over the place.
Yeah.
Just filled up all the time.
You're
They
right.
sit on front porches for weeks at a time.
I agree.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, is this the workshop or is this?
It's the workshop, this is the workshop still.
Where's Brad?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dangler. Yes, we'll take care of that. Anything else? Yes.
You talked about wine samples, well, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they had a wine vendor down here at the farmer's market selling and giving away samples.
Trusses, you mean, right? Is that wine samples?
He gave away samples and he was selling wine. To top it off, he's from Blackport, not even a local winery.
It could be from anywhere.
Okay, well, I didn't know
That
that.
is.
They didn't request
Yeah,
anything.
they didn't request anything. We didn't give any kind of permission to anybody for that.
That's what I thought bringing up here. And the
Thank you. I
second
will
thing,
mention that. I will mention that to them. Yes, thank you.
Talk about sidewalks clean, picking up cigarette butts and stuff. What about the outlying districts where we have eyesores and up and down the street or something like that? Is the zoning board ignoring these issues or?
I can't believe that they're ignoring the issue.
Are you talking about the condition of properties?
Conditions and upkeep. The property has various junk, he has garbage in a pan, he has a stack of pop cans and stuff like that. You told my brother, you're looking at it, you're gonna take pictures, you're gonna go to court. What the hell with you? You haven't gone to court and you're not doing anything about it.
Okay, well, yeah. Right, thank you. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit, a study discussion we started with Kara the other day, is about smoking in public spaces, in places, public places. It came to my attention, and there are quite a few people were asking me about smoking, let's say in the park, or smoking close to...
Playgrounds or-
Yes, close to playgrounds and things like that. And we were discussing that maybe we can put together a policy where the village can put some kind of limitations, because overall it's very difficult to enforce a non-smoking zone. But I was thinking that maybe we should discuss something like that. Maybe we can encourage, maybe, I mean, whatever you think that we can do about that, because there is a problem.
Would that be a zoning board thing to start out with, or us, or
No.
who? where-
No.
When is it more the village board doing a
Code, yeah.
resolution or something?
Right.
Whether the zoning board.
Okay.
Or adding to the code, yeah.
Maybe take a look at what some other communities do, how they do it. Do they?
They do it in Jamestown?
Okay.
Okay.
We can look
Good
into
to
it.
know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna look into that.
Where is that? Yeah.
All right, very good, thank you. We're going to the next regular meeting now, right? We're going to the meeting now. Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Please rise so we can have the meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order. At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 28th day of August 2017 at 7:38 p.m. in the Trustees' Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meeting Law.
There are no reports tonight.
Okay. Correspondence was received from Shane Minigan, President of Habitat for Humanity Club at SUNY Fredonia, requesting permission to use Barker Common and the gazebo on Saturday, October 14, 2017, from 7 a.m. set up to 6 p.m., 7 p.m. tear down, for a Habitat for Humanity Harvest Festival to raise money to help build houses for families in need and/or living in unsafe conditions.
Be it resolved that permission is hereby granted to Shane Minigan, not sure how to pronounce that, President of Habitat for Humanity Club at SUNY Fredonia, to use Barker Common and the gazebo for a Habitat for Humanity Harvest Festival event with craft stations, food and drinks, basketball raffle, games, live music, dance performances, pumpkin painting, a dog adoption area, photo booth, and a bounce house on Saturday, October 14, 2017, from 7 a.m. setup to 6 p.m., 7 p.m. tear down, and that Church Street between Temple Street and Park Place be closed for during the set hours, and be it further resolved that the above use of the gazebo is subject to the direction of the Fredonia Police Department, and be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to the receipt of a certificate of insurance naming the Village of Fredonia as an additional insured in the amount of $1 million.
Second that motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
And it's adopted. Public question, once again. Anybody? Please.
Paul
Mr.
Luce,
Luce, yes.
James Place, Fredonia. A while back, I told you I was gonna have a certified lab test my water. Well, we did back the end of May. I got the report back.
Okay.
There are 4 elements in there that they checked for contamination
Right.
that were high. There were several other they tested for, but these 4 were high.
Okay.
Now, the maximum contamination level for lead in drinking water is 15 parts per billion. That is the high level. This water came back at 1,050. Now, the health department's been working on it.
Okay.
Paul Schneider called me Friday, told me he's been trying to call you and Rick St. George, and nobody will return a phone call.
I returned his phone call
When?
the day after he called me.
Well, I'm just telling you what he told me
And
on
I'm telling
Friday.
you what I did.
And he said that they've got several solutions to take care of this. But he said he can't do anything until somebody calls him.
Okay, so you called him?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Well, maybe he's waiting to hear from you again because he told me there's
Yeah.
nothing he can do till one of you calls him.
That's
I'm
fine.
just telling you what he
I'll call
told
him
me.
again.
That, I think you're gonna need to.
Yeah. And just to let you know too, that O'Brien and Gear is working with the plant right now. They've gotten the test results back from
It's
when they
been-
tested.
It's been over a year since they've been working, but the
No, they
plant's
just
not
had
the
it
problem,
tested
it's the
at probably
lines.
around the same time that you had yours tested, correct? When they came to your house?
Last year,
No, not
Your
last
question.
year, this year.
this year what, the county was there?
No, when they came to your house to test your water. When was it?
That was on May 27th.
May 27th. So that's, yeah. And then they sent all of those samples away. They got the test results back. And
You're throwing good money away with this engineering firm. They're working with the plant. The problem is the water lines. What is the plant gonna do?
Well,
Put more chemicals in the water so I can get more readings? Telling me not to drink the water? You know, it just seems like nobody cares in this village. That's why I got
That's
Kathy
not
Young's
fair.
office
That's not fair.
involved.
I think everybody cares, and that's why we're here.
Well, that's why we haven't heard from anybody in so long. Have you heard from anyone?
No, you haven't heard because we didn't call you. We don't have the results yet. It's not like we sit.
Last year, what are they waiting for? How long?
I
does
don't
this
know.
take?
I don't know the
Well, then maybe you
time.
should ask them.
Please do. Ask them.
no, I did.
Yes.
They're working on it with the plant. They're coming up with the chemical consistency of what water they're putting. Analyzing the data out of the plant in order to determine what's causing the corrosiveness down in that end of the village. So they're working on it. I know it's not happening as quick as
Copper
you want.
levels
Oh, I
high,
realize that.
iron levels high, all of these things lead
I
to
realize
dirty
that.
water.
And we're,
But it's not every house, right? It's just some houses,
We're at the end of the street.
right?
It's my house, his house,
Okay.
and the next house. And one of these things will give a foul odor
Right.
to the water, and that's what the one gentleman down next to Jim Knapp was saying, his water stinks.
Okay.
Is anybody gonna be interested in this?
Mr. Lewis, do you really think that we feel comfortable with you having this problem and coming here? No, of course we're interested in it.
Well, what's being done besides the engineering firm that's been sitting there?
Well, I don't have a magic wand. I have to wait for them to give us what we're supposed to do. Now, if they give us what we're supposed to do and we don't do that, then you have every right to bring the. Actually, I'm more anxious than you
If this-
because
Well, if this was your water, would you have waited this long? What would you do?
I don't know. I will be here every week, probably bothering people. Absolutely, I
Am
will.
I
do.
bothering you?
No,
Oh, I didn't realize that, I'm sorry.
in a very good way. I'm sorry. I mean, it's talking to people, not bothering. You're not bothering me at all. I'm bothering you, and I know that. But very sincerely, I don't have anything to offer at this moment. I wish I did.
Well, okay.
How old are your home? I'm curious, how old are you?
Mine's the same.
Okay, so late
Yeah.
50s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's probably one of that. But we can't start that there's a problem there. That's expensive.
Comes out all rusty.
So it's not just in your home, it's also in the hydrant? That's what I was wondering, if it's not the pipes in your the main,
Right, it's gotta be
That's
coming
the
from
studies
main.
about that.
Right, yeah.
We can't just
Hydrant,
guess
comes out all
here.
rusty.
We've talked about that over and
Yeah.
over. That's what the engineering study is
Right.
for.
Thank
Say, Todd Profit, 24 James. A couple things. One, I was wanting an update on, I know there was a grant proposal that was the middle of this month that we were shooting for, it's why we're trying to get the engineering firm. I'd like to get an update on that. I do want to say, just in response, you asked the question, if it's just all the houses or some of the houses, it doesn't appear to be affecting every house the same.
Right.
Okay? But I have to say, I mean, I've seen the results that Paul got. Those are true and accurate, and I do know that other people are trying to get that confirmed. You know, we're gonna get some other tests just so we have more data, just so, honestly, so we can help you, okay? But if they're as high as they say they are, those are,
Very
those levels are
dangerous.
wrong, you know?
Right.
I read those and we stopped drinking the water, you know, we're on bottled water, you know?
You're
That's our
right.
fear.
I
okay?
would stop the
So-
second I get this result, of course.
And the last thing is, one of the things that we've asked for and was the flushing of the lines, okay? And when we first came, you know, it happened once, okay? Then, and that was, I believe, in October. Was that the original time we came? Okay, and it didn't happen for a while, and then earlier this summer, I think we came back again, and it started happening regularly. I think we had a couple, like every 2 weeks.
Because they had to stop right for.
They're flushing every Monday.
No, that's, I've never seen it on Monday, I've seen it on Fridays, and I've been home this summer. So I mean, I ran it the past week. I want to make you aware of one, the flushing, and two, I want to find out where we are with that grant proposal, because that was the whole reason we were doing the testing there, at least that's what I understood, so.
Yes. I mean, we have to fix it, either we get the grant or not.
Right.
I believe it's going to be sometime in October, we're going to know.
Oh, sorry. Well, it's been applied for, it's
Oh,
in
yes,
process.
yes, we have applied for it, yes, absolutely. So, I mean, only the lead levels are getting me sick thinking about it. We don't want to go there. Just give them a call, see where they are.
Yeah.
How quickly we can have results, so we can fix this problem.
Now let's get
I
back on
just
that
had
flushing
convers-
schedule.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, because I was told every Monday they're going down there to flush, because I told them, I said, once a week you need to be down there and flush at least 3 hours. I said,
Right.
just open the hydrant and let that thing run for 3 hours, and then shut it off, and you're good for the week, and then go there. And they assured me that that was the case.
Okay.
Every Monday they were going to flush that place. That's why I'm surprised
they
to
go
hear that
Friday.
that's not the case.
Well, and let me just say too, I witnessed it once, I wasn't exactly sure what they needed to do, and Paul's witnessed them do it, and he's had to go out and tell them they need to open it up more, because they open up, kind of let it trickle out, as opposed to really letting it go,
You
so.
gotta open it right up.
Oh, you gotta move water, you gotta move water,
Yeah,
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 that's the
Sprinkler
whole
is not gonna
purpose of
do it.
opening a hydrant.
They said, this is how we were told to do it. I said, well, I'm telling you, you're doing it wrong.
that
You might not
DPW?
even do it.
Yes.
Well, just make sure that we have to
Yeah,
make sure
I'll
that this
talk
is
to
going to be.
Mitch, because I don't know who the hell they got doing it.
Thank you.
Rick, I don't know if you've seen it when you go over to your
I will,
uncle's.
so.
Yeah, go up there and see.
Of Leon in Pleasant, there's water running there constantly. I don't care if it hasn't rained for a month, there's water running there on the corner where Mrs. Nichols' house is.
Well, I saw that, and I thought that that's where they were opening the hydrant.
No, that just comes up out of the ground, there's either.
Oh,
water
because I
running-
thought, okay, that's where they're opening the hydrant, because I've seen that water
I've
there.
asked several DPW workers, and they say, yeah, Perry's aware of it, it's been like that for years. Well, it shouldn't be.
No. I'll talk to them about it.
You speak to them, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely, I would report back to the board.
That's true.
I've been watching that because I couldn't figure out where it was coming from.
Water's coming up?
Pleasant.
And it has been wet, a lot of puddles. And I'm wondering, maybe if there is a broken line, if that's what's stirring up the water for the other neighbors.
You gotta have a pretty big break in order to start stirring like
There's
that.
water at that corner all the time, even when.
I
it's
know,
been, like,
that's why I thought that
out.
that's where they were flushing, because
Yeah,
I've
but
seen
check
that
it out.
water there all the time. I said, that must be the spot that they're flushing from.
I thought-
Where are they flushing, at the end of your street?
Yeah, just the house next door. to me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's make sure that the flushing is going on and
In the
Yep.
find out.
Okay.
1,000, over 1,000 you said.
150,000 parts per billion.
No,
No, 1,050.
1,050.
Oh, 1,050. Oh, I'm sorry.
1,050 parts
Yeah,
per billion.
All right, sorry.
The only thing with this test was it's certified in Wisconsin. It's not certified in New York State. But the ways of testing are the same. Well, the guy in the health department said, well, it's not a certified lab. It certainly is in Wisconsin. So it doesn't really matter. You do the test the same way everywhere.
Well, you don't want lead in,
They're gonna go by
lead is
the-
lead.
Yeah, they'll probably go by the test results that were done when they came, they
See,
came through and
when
did
they
the
came to
testing.
my house, the village checked just to see turbidity in it, see how, what was
Yeah.
causing it
Yeah.
to be brown. The county tested for bacteria. Nobody tested lead, copper, anything else.
Yeah, Paul, you gotta see the list. I mean, there's page after page after page of tests that were done to that water.
Who did it? The village?
At that time, yes.
Oh, because when
Yeah.
I got the report from them,
They
had-
probably did it at the hydrant, maybe not at your house.
Well, they did this at the house, but all they checked was alkalinity, phosphate, things like that. There's no listing of lead, copper, iron, or anything.
Yeah, the board
I thought there
got
was-
copies of it. I mean, there's pages
I
of
thought there
things that
was
they
some-
test
some-
for. I
some
mean,
lead.
What, you know what lab they used?
no, I mean, I could go through my emails and send it to you.
Who runs that lab on Route 5 in Dunkirk, you know?
That's Chris Surma. That's,
Okay, because I'm not saying anything.
but he sends it out anyway.
Okay, because I would.
He does certain tests, but most of the tests get sent out.
Okay, because you really don't want an employee.
No,
of the village to say
that organization did not do the testing. The test was actually sent to an independent lab. Yeah.
Paul, start here, make sure the hydrants are getting flushed accordingly. Check out that water main break if it's a break, and we'll check in with the engineering firm to get expedited on the freaking results.
Yeah, I know they're working on that because there's been several emails going back and forth with the plant for results.
Yeah, 'cause whatever
Testing
they
results and
put in
stuff.
for chemicals to try to collect my problem, all of you are drinking.
So would that be a start?
So I'm thinking maybe if it's just something.
We're not going to say yes to chemicals. Believe me, I totally dislike chemicals, although I'm a scientist. So we're not going to say yes to chemicals straight away. That's not going to be the case. Let's see what they come up with and take it from there. Well, thank you, and I'm very sorry. And you're not bothering anybody. We're bothering you. Okay, let's go to resolutions, please.
I think we have someone else who would like to
Oh, I'm
speak.
sorry. I'm very sorry.
All
Yes.
right, Gus Pokovic, 140 Porter, Fredonia, New York. This is regarding the Village of Fredonia using village equipment to, on private property to move wood chips and other debris that is, most of it's not even theirs, it's contractors. But anyway, on July 3rd this year, I foiled the mayor and the village board for some information. I asked for the tree removal contracts, and the answer was NA. This answer came from Rick St. George. Okay, and I'm not real sure if NA is not available or not accountable. I'm not quite sure. But,
Not
work
available.
requests. Available, okay.
There is no
Work
contract.
requests, which means anytime there's somebody says they've got a tree that's a nuisance and it's a village tree, there would possibly be a write-up for a follow-up for an invoice. Not available. 3 years of tree service invoicing, because I just want to see how much was contracted out. Well, Rich has got here enclosed, but I never received it. That's all I received is one document. Insurance carrier, he told me who the carrier was. The liability policy, he did give me that, and it was kind of funny because I was reading the inclusions on it, and I can read the full thing to you, but it's page 2 of 13, and when the village works on private property without anything written to add them onto their insurance, they're not insured. So basically for pollution, any kind of harm, it says here, at or from any premise, site, or location which is or was at any time used by or any insured or others for handling, storage, disposal, processing, or treatment of waste. So basically that's not listed on the policy because I also foiled the question, any agreements written or verbal for the the property owner dumping composting material, and that was NA also, okay? And also I asked for the time spent moving compost material, which I'm sure, because the village was spending anywhere from an hour to 2 every week, and I got it documented, and that's not available. But I couldn't understand that answer, because I would think a village this size would keep a good record, so when they do want to put on more employees, or they want to apply for a grant, they could justify the hours spent on doing the work. Well, that's not available here either. So I just think this whole thing here, and it was handwritten, and I waited 2 weeks, and I had to call up and come down and get it, which is fine, but I didn't get any answers, and that's not what the FOIL law is. The FOIL law is you supply me the information that I request, and I did it through registered mail, notarized, I did it properly, I called Albany, again, to remind me how to do it properly, and they did, and, but this is what I got for answers. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is there something here that you guys are missing? No records, no accountability of time, no accountability of contracts? I know if I do something for the village, I have to show a liability policy of $1 million. So if there's a contractor on the property, on any village property, I'm sure they have to show a liability certificate. And when they don't pay that liability insurance, you get notified, okay? But you guys wouldn't supply me with anything because you supposedly don't have any contractor records. How do you keep any records on how much work is done with the trees?
We have full-time employees, and they have a schedule every day.
Well,
That's what they follow.
okay,
But some of them, yes, went there, and they're not actually working there, they're just pushing something, so I can't imagine they spend a lot of time.
my question that I'm really asking is,
Right.
you have contracts with tree companies, correct?
No.
Okay, so who does the village tree work? It's not the village. They
No,
do very
it's not the village,
But
it's a
it's not always the
contractor
same.
that comes in
You
and does
just
the
told me you
tree
don't have
work.
contractors.
We don't have a contract.
No contract with the contractors?
No, we
Do
don't.
they have
a
liability
contract.
insurance?
Yes,
Do you have proof of that?
yes.
That wasn't supplied to me.
If you
So
come
that means you have
downstairs,
not-
there's still a pile of stuff there that you requested
No,
that's
no,
still
no, no,
sitting
no.
there. Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
came
yeah.
to get this stuff, Rich. No, don't skate around.
Buzz.
I came to get this. I'm not supposed to notify you that I want the stuff. You're supposed to call me, and you never even called me. I had to come down here after 2 weeks.
I told you when you picked that up that we would have the rest of this stuff for you within a few days.
Well, my mailbox is empty. Okay?
Oh,
So-
yeah, you have to pay for
Well-
the process.
Oh, I
that they
understand
run
it.
through.
I understand it, but you have no contractors working, cutting trees down. You have no invoices that I saw, and no agreements with the property owner. So you can read your own policy here. It's page 2 of
Are we
13.
talking about a specific thing now, or general?
I'm talking to several of them. I'm questioning the village's accountability of what they do as far as when they hire out, contract out, and what the contract reads is who's responsible for the disposal of the wood chips or debris and where it should be disposed. And if there's any loopholes that say that the village has to move that stuff, if there's any kind of agreement with the contractor. And you're telling me you don't even have a contract. So what do? Call the guy and say, okay, come on down, cut
When
this
we
tree?
move that, it's not from contractors, it's from people who are dumping their personal,
Well,
the home.
what we
trash.
should be moving is the leaves. We dump only leaves there. We don't dump anything else. The limbs and stuff that come to the street department are being dumped on Webster Road. They're not being dumped at
Okay,
that
That was
so
the
the
site.
place, that was 12 miles round trip? Yeah.
That's on Webster Road.
Okay, so the leaves, our department picks up the leaves.
Yes, and they
So we
dump them
don't
there.
contract anybody to pick up the leaves.
Right, but he's talking about tree trimming and tree removal.
Right, because
But
the
this-
last time I was here, and I got it on tape, is the fact that you people are actually, yes, you are getting the tree company, and you are moving the chips, and most of them were people that are working for the village as a contractor, and it's all on private property. And you said it made good fertilizer, I mean, I could repeat the whole thing, but it's well documented on recording. So, I mean, I need the rest of this information.
Come down to my
Please give them the
office, I'll
rest
get
of the
it for you.
information.
It's sitting right on the desk.
It took 2 months and another meeting to try to get information.
Actually, it
so I-
would have taken an additional 3 days on top of
I'm
that.
just disappointed, because, you know what, I think for some reason, you guys, you know, I really had to go to a lot just to figure out why the village was working on private property and figure it out. You know, if I was a business, I wouldn't loan my bulldozer out to the neighbor while I'm contracted to somebody else. So, I mean, it's very poor.
What exactly is working on?
And these answers,
I'm trying to
Privateers when
understand.
we're
Yes,
when
no,
we're
but
moving
we
we're
put things
moving
and
the
we push
leaves.
it.
and
there you
pushing
go,
it.
you're moving the chips that you didn't put there.
That's the
Okay, and
issue,
you're
is
also
the
on
chips
private
are in
property.
the same pile as the leaves. The contractor is going there and dumping his chips in the same place that we're dumping leaves.
You're dumping
And
leaves
when
on
we're
Webster,
moving
you
our
said.
leaves, we're actually moving the chips with it.
So,
You just said you were dumping the leaves on Webster Road on the other
No,
property.
no, I said we're
No.
dumping limbs
Limbs.
on
Limbs.
Webster Road. I
Okay.
didn't say dumping leaves on Webster
So, the wood
Road.
chips that you're contracting these companies to come and.
We're
take-
not telling them to dump there at all. We don't tell people to go to privateers and
So why
dump
would
on
you
their
move, why would
property.
you use your?
We're moving leaves when we go up
You're
there.
not
to
moving
move.
leaves. I got more video and more pictures of them moving wood chips. I mean, tons of
So if
chips.
there are chips here and the leaves here and the bulldozer goes in the middle and pushes
There's no
both.
leaves there, I'm sorry. I got pictures, if you want to see them, I'll show them to you. But, you know, we've been through this so many times, and, you know, I had to hear they've been doing it for 50 years, and what's the problem with it? Well, you know what, it's time we tighten our budgets, you know, I think a little bit, and start using, like, that part of the 2 hours can be used for the full public, for the full
So for
village.
these 2 hours to go to Webster Road instead of going next door, that's more productive to you?
Well, I would
I'm
think.
just trying to
because- well,
understand.
it's actually, it's 2 miles from your village barns,
Yes.
not 12, okay, as stated last time. And I think, yes, it would be. If you manage that out on Webster properly, you could dump all your stuff and let the contractors worry about where their own stuff goes. And I said that
Working on
before.
that. There'll be a meeting on that on the 19th,
Where?
here,
On the 19th.
the workshop on the 19th.
Well, I'm gonna look into it a little further, and I'd like that information, please.
If you want it right after here, you can come down.
I want you to send it to me.
I won't send it to you, you gotta come here and pick it up.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Come here and pick it up.
Yeah.
Thank
Hey,
you.
You know, we'll give you the
Yes.
invoice and you can pay for it, and we'll give you
No
the
problem.
information.
Sir,
Bill Gross with Cincinnati. I'm not sure if I'm in the right section. I've had conversations with Rick in regards to us getting water. We're working with Brian Pound at Patriot Engineering, and he suggested I come to a board meeting and see if we could work out an agreement with the village and temporarily buy it directly from the village.
For what?
That's the Hanson one that you haven't.
Right.
oh, okay, yes, we have the,
Yeah.
yes. I understand that you have to go through the town of Pomfret. They have to request it. And I'm sorry, this is just the procedure we follow all the time, right?
So
And,
it's the town of Pomfret, not Dunkirk?
No, the
No,
town
no.
of Dunkirk.
I'm
oh,
sorry.
Dunker, I'm sorry, yes,
Town of Dunkirk.
I'm reading.
That's a
something else,
town
yeah.
of Dunkirk, as I discussed with you, that's a town of Dunkirk district that you're talking about hooking to, that's Plaza 59. So you have to go through, in fact, we have a letter, if you want to come down to my office after the meeting, we have a letter from the town of Pomfret
Yeah,
with
that's what I
a
was
piece of
looking at.
property that was
Looking
up
at.
further, where the owner of the property went to the town approved it, pending approval of the village to hook into the system, and the board will take action on that next meeting. They wrote to the village and said, you know, at our meeting, blah, 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 we approved this, but, you know, according to our contract, we have to get your approval. So the board is ready to do that next time. You have to go through that same process.
Can I pick that up from you tomorrow?
Sure. Well,
I think you do, no.
you just want to go down to my office after the meeting, or you
Is that
leave
it?
in?
Well, I'm gonna leave till I gotta go to West.
Yeah, you can pick it up tomorrow.
Rick, is that it? Is this-
Oh, here, yeah, why
You
don't
can have
you
this one.
take the copy?
It's a copy, yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's,
I'll give you another
that's
copy.
fine, yeah, thank you, it's fine.
This is what the town wrote to the village asking for approval.
So you have to
And then we'll
go
pass
pretty
a
much the
resolution.
same thing.
Thanks. Brian's the one who suggested I come here tonight.
Okay, okay, uh-huh.
Anything else?
I just got one thing, I want to touch base on the
Mr.
workshop. Good evening. So let me get this straight, and I'm touching back to the workshop. So I want to make sure I have this straight. You're going to try to appoint a person for the trustee's position who basically was a runner-up from the last election who might not even want to be a trustee, but hasn't even who hadn't even put their name in to be a trustee, after asking people to come forward to be a trustee, just so you, let me try to rehash that.
Roger, this was because in the beginning, I thought we were going to go through the same process as we did last time. I thought I'm going to see everybody, I'm going to talk to each trustee individually about everybody, they're going to come to a decision. Now, we're far away from that. That was going to be about a month ago, before I left for vacation. Right before I left, Mr. Essex sent an email to everybody, telling everybody that he would like himself and some trustees, all trustees, to be part of these interviews. So then we got into all these questions about how he's going to become that, how we're going to do it, what is the right procedure to be transparent enough, not to give a stage to people to do debates. All of this came into question. So when I asked people to come forward, and I apologize for that, was when I thought I was going to do the interviews and get it over with. So I have to follow what the trustees say. I had to follow Mr. Essex's suggestion. So this is where we are now.
Well, I understand that, you
That's-
know. Again, there are certain
I'm
people,
not,
including myself, in the
saying
room.
anything bad about anybody. But once one trustee asked me to change the procedure that I did last year, I have to take it to the next, to everybody. That's where it was.
Well, I understand. One other quick question. I know that the village has some positions available. Some of these positions have been available since last October. How are we doing on filling those positions? Any new candidates for any of those positions?
We have some for some and none for others. That's, we still have some problems there, yeah. And we are working towards that. Thank you.
Can I just comment on your first question there? I mean, I tried to make the system as transparent as possible, and if you don't have full board support, it won't work. And so I tried making it transparent, and obviously that was not the consensus of the entire board, so.
But Doug, last time, and you don't know that because you were a candidate instead of a trustee, I talked with each one of the trustees about each one of the applicants. So I had one-to-one meetings with each trustee and a list of 5 applicants, and I told them all the answers and everything that went on.
Unfortunately, that's not part of your duties. It's the duties of the trustees to appoint and be part of the process and to actually have the process.
Well, we went through this, and now we are where we
We
are.
have, yes, we disagree.
All right, let's go. Resolutions.
A resolution authorizing the insurance of $240,000 bonds of the Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay the cost of the purchase of heavy equipment for said village. A copy of the bond resolution is attached to and made part of these minutes.
I second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Essex?
No.
So it doesn't pass?
Doesn't pass.
No. So they don't get the equipment?
Not at this
You can
point.
bring it up for another vote.
Yeah,
Later on.
we can bring it up later.
Okay. Hannes?
Jones?
Where? No, it says
Okay.
Christine. Oh, I'm
Jones,
sorry. Be it
first.
resolved that the attached schedule of budget transfer pursuant to Section 5-520 of the village law is hereby approved.
Second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Essex?
Yes.
Be it resolved that the Village of Fredonia, location code 40180, hereby establishes the attached as standard workdays for elected and appointed officials and will report the indicated days worked to the New York State and local employees retirement system and police and fire retirement system based on the record of activities maintained and submitted by these officials to the clerk of this body.
Second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Esser?
Yes. Be it resolved that Charles Brockhouse, 9 Cushing Street, Fredonia, is hereby hired as a seasonal laborer to work with the Department of Public Works at an hourly rate of pay of $9.70 effective August 29, 2017, subject to civil service rules and regulations and with no other benefits to be given.
Second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Esser?
Yes.
Thank you, and let's go to the executive meeting.
Yeah, wrong one, I'm sorry. I hereby make a motion to enter into executive session as authorized by Section 105(1)(f) of the Public Officers Law to discuss employment history of a particular person and also to discuss issues related to contractual matters.
Second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Jones?
Aye.
Trustee Esser?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, everybody, for coming.